Let's try something new for next week. Leave a video response doing 3 things. 1. Ask me a question about anything to do with Lost, and I'll post a separate video next week answering the best ones. 2. Tell me what you think the funniest thing I've ever said on Lost Thoughts. 3. In your video, do a 30-second impression of me doing Lost Thoughts. This is gonna go really well or really bad, but who cares? It'll be fun. Just remember to keep it clean.
For sure, if we fade, then it's a lie. But you know we are the sun, and we'll
This is Lost Thoughts for episode 9, entitled Aeterno. This week we'll find out what's stronger, stone or wood. Hint, it wasn't stone. Discuss the difference of years of the launching of the Black Rock either being on purpose or on accident. And celebrate a theory that I actually got right. This was the long-awaited Richard episode. Believe me, I've been very satisfied this season so far, but I left this one with a great sense of excitement, wonder, frustration, intrigue, and a little indigestion. This episode, unlike others this season, took place mainly in a flashback. We learned the history of Richard Alpert, how he came to the island, how he became what he was, and had an even more in-depth look into the game between Jacob and the Man in Black. I have a lot of theories, a lot of comments, and a lot of chutzpah. Yeah, I'm not even sure what that means. We start off in a flashback that we've seen before. Alana's all bandaged up in the hospital, and Jacob walks in to talk to her. This time, however, the conversation is continued. Jacob tells Alana that there are 6 people on the island that she has to protect. They are the remaining candidates. Alana's also told that after she brings them to the temple, Ricardo will know what to do next. As many people vocalized on the message board, that laugh that Richard made was hilarious. But Richard believes that they are all dead. And this isn't even an island. They're in hell. You know, Richard isn't the first one to theorize about this. Anthony Cooper told Sawyer that he believed that they were all in hell right before he got strangled. Coincidentally, on the Black Rock. Now, Richard believes that he's lost everything, so he's going to go join Flock. If it's any consolation, it's not exactly luck. Hurley's speaking Spanish to apparently no one. I forgot that Hurley could speak Spanish, and at first we all thought he's speaking to Jacob, but apparently not. Could it be someone from Richard's past? Flashback! This turns out to be one of the longest continuous flashbacks that we've had in a long time, but it was totally worth it. Canary Islands, 1867. We see Richard with long hair riding on a horse through an area that looks very similar to the island. He has a wife, Isabella, who's sick and coughing up blood. Richard says that he'll save her, which automatically reminds me of Dogan taking a job on the island in order to save his son. Richard goes to the doctor, kills him by mistake, takes the medicine, goes back to his wife, only to find that she died. Now he has nothing, and he's in jail, and he's gonna die. He has confession with a priest, begs forgiveness, and is denied. The priest says that he can only get absolution through penance, but he doesn't have time, hint, hint, because he's going to be hanged. This scene is in stark contrast to when Echo was asked by Yemi, who was actually the Black Smoke, to confess his sins. And Echo said that he hadn't committed any. Then the smoke monster killed him. Which brings back a question that has always bugged me. Why did the smoke monster decide to kill Echo then, and not when it first encountered him? Do you remember the episode when Charlie was up a tree? At that point, we assumed that the smoke monster was somewhat scanning him and seeing all his memories and whatnot. After watching the end of Season 5 and the beginning of this season, I can only conclude one thing. When the smoke monster first approached Echo, he was hoping that Echo would still be capable of evil, thus proving Jacob wrong. And the smoke monster turning into Yemi was an attempt to get Echo to admit that he had done wrong. When Echo ruined his plans by refusing to confess his sins, the smoke monster got mad and killed him. It then makes sense why Saeed is on the side of the Man in Black. Saeed has admitted time and time again that he has committed horrible acts of torturing people. Just a small thought before we get back to the episode. Is it safe to conclude that the Man in Black judges past deeds, whereas Jacob gives everyone a clean slate? Richard was going to be hanged, but apparently now he's the property of Captain Magnus Hanzo, and he's going to be on the Black Rock. If you remember, there was a diary or ledger of the first mate from the Black Rock. Somehow this book made its way back into the real world, into the hands of Tovard Hanzo, and then eventually by auction into the hands of Charles Widmore. If you remember, Olivar Hanzo was the founder of the Dharma Initiative. The problem with this episode is that it's set in 1867, the Black Rock is setting sail, but according to the auction, which took place during the Constant, the Black Rock actually made its last voyage in 1845. And the diary wasn't found until 1852. Although the year that the Black Rock last set sail may have been changed in order to allow for the invention of dynamite by Alfred Nobel, which was in 1867. Because we all know there's a lot of dynamite on the Black Rock. So the Black Rock, in a tsunami, apparently flies into the head of the statue of Taweret. When we last saw the Black Rock at the end of Season 5 off the coast of the island, when Jacob and the Men in Black were having their conversation, it was a nice, clear, and sunny day, but now when the Black Rock's about to fly into the head of Taweret, it's very stormy and rainy. What happened? According to the latest podcast, the producers said that weather can change drastically on the island in a matter of seconds, so... But, as Doc Arts said in Season 1 of Lost, a tsunami brought the Black Rock that far inland, so when Richard wakes up, Whitfield starts killing all the slaves, but he stops when you hear the black smoke. The black smoke starts killing everyone, which was awesome, including Whitfield, which was awesomer. Then the black smoke comes up to Richard, which scans him, like Juliet, and then it leaves. Just like it did Juliet. Do you remember that episode when Juliet was handcuffed to Kate and they had that mud wrestling fight and Juliet's shoulder popped down, the black smoke scanned her? Wait, was that a blue butterfly? Anyone know what that means? How the heck is Isabella there? Why the heck is she saying they're both dead and in hell? It's got to be the black smoke pretending to be Isabella in order to get Richard to do something or to think something. But then there's the black smoke noise outside. Unless the black smoke can break into multiple sections at once. And now Isabella is dead again. And of course, that's the hand of Jacob reaching out to heal Richard, and that's not Jacob. That's the Man in Black. He claims to be a friend and confirms that Richard is indeed in hell. He says that Isabella is with him, implying Jacob. The Man in Black says that he'll let him go as long as he does whatever he asks. And they're agreed. It's good to see you out of those chains. That's why Richard freaked out when Flock said those words to him when he came out of the statue. One way to escape from hell, you're gonna have to kill the devil. This confirms that the Man in Black has had past attempts on Jacob's life besides the one that we saw with Ben. Man, the Man in Black cooks a mean boar. So it's finally explained that the reason why the statue is broken up into pieces is because the Black Rock smashed into it. Now, I'm not a scientist or a materials expert, but a wooden ship versus a stone statue that's been standing for thousands of years? I'm not sure that the Black Rock wins that fight, and stays intact. The Man in Black gives Richard the sword to kill Jacob and tells him not to let him say anything, not to hesitate. Of course, these are almost the exact same instructions that Dogan gave to Saeed when he wanted to go kill Flock. He took my body, my humanity. And once again, not lying, showing some but not all of his cards, the Man in Black proclaims to be the Black Smoke. You know, we can talk all day about what's right and what's wrong. You know, so can I when it relates to the show. Wow, Jacob beat the crap out of Richard. Does Jacob's ability to lay a butt-whooping on Richard translate to his followers being able to perform ninja-type moves at a second's notice? For obvious reasons, I'm reminded of the story in the Old Testament with Jacob and God wrestling. Jacob continually dunks Richard into the ocean until he admits that he is not dead and wants to live. This is awesome in terms of teaching a lesson. The method of teaching that Jacob chooses may be controversial, but they get results. He has to take a tough love approach with some people and a soft hand approach with others. Jacob knows what people have to hear in order to be convinced. Sometimes it takes getting into the back of a cab, sometimes it takes staring out at the ocean for a while, and sometimes it takes beating the crap out of you. I am more and more convinced that Jacob is on the side of good. He has followers that will lose faith at certain points of their journey, but in the end, I believe that Jacob will win whatever game is being played, possibly because he already knows how it's going to end. No one comes in unless I invite them in. Interesting, then how did Ben and Flock get into the statue? statue at the end of Season 5 unless Jacob allowed it. Jacob denies being the devil. He flat out says no instead of what I assumed he would do. Answer a question with another question. But then again, that would have been avoiding the question. I spoke of a theory from the message boards a few weeks back about the true name of the island being Cork. You know, Cork Island in Ireland and having a suburb named Black Rock. And Jacob confirms that the island is acting as a cork that keeps the darkness where it belongs. The man in black believes that everyone is corruptible, and Jacob wants to prove him wrong. That's why he brings people to the island, to help themselves. Jacob doesn't want to step in, but to let people decide what is right from wrong. Jacob then offers Richard a job to step in for him as a representative, an intermediary. In return, Richard asks for something and is denied 2 times. First, Richard wanted his wife back. Second, he wanted absolution from his sins. Knowing that once he died, he would then have to pay for his sins, the third thing he asks is to live forever. Only number 3 could Jacob offer. This leads to an interesting question. Why would Jacob not be able to bring Isabella back when Dogan assumed that by taking the job at the temple that his son was brought back? So the island is preventing the man in black from doing the one thing that he wants to do, which is get off the island. Jacob told Richard to give the man in black the white stone. Sweet inside joke. The man in black says that if Richard ever changes his mind, the offer still stands to follow him and do as he says. He gives Richard back the cross, and Richard buries it as a memorial to Isabella. Finally, back in the Dud world, and the offer still stands. Richard finds the buried cross and yells for Flock to honor their agreement after all these years. After all these years, Richard has changed his mind, but here comes Hurley to save the day. Your wife sent me. She speaks to Hurley from the dead, and with some kind words. Richard's faith is restored, and his desire to join Flock is diminished. There is one more thing. Isabella wants Richard to stop the man in black from getting off the island, or else we all go to hell. Say, what? And we end with a nice turnaround shot for Flock. But we're not done yet. Flashback. Jacob and the man in black have one of their bi-decade meetings. The man in black just wants to leave the island. He promises to kill Jacob and to kill any of his replacements. Then Jacob gives him the wine bottle with the cork still in it. See you around sooner than you think. And he smashes the bottle. Wow. First off, sooner than you think were the words spoken by Flock to Richard after he saw the weird, mysterious boy with the blonde hair. Also, smashing the bottle symbolizes the man in black possibly escaping the island. But how will he accomplish this? In the Boom world, the island is underwater, dare we say, smashed. So does this imply that the man in black is free in the Boom world? The thing to keep in mind is that when the bottle was smashed, the wine escaped, but the cork was still there. Foreshadowing? This episode overall was legend, wait for it, I really hope you're not lactose intolerant, dairy. I feel so spoiled with lost information because of all the mythology that was revealed. And Nestor Carbonell stepped it up. Why is it that Lost gets the best actors to be on their show? Or is it that Lost brings out the best in these actors? And if you want to see an amazing performance by Nestor Carbonell, just watch Smokin' Aces. There's one scene where he actually kills the character of Matthew Fox. This episode also reminded me of a partial theory from a few seasons ago. In Season 4, the episode entitled Cabin Fever, Richard goes to meet a young John Locke in order to determine whether or not he's going to adopt him. Richard brings Locke a bunch of items and tells him to pick out what already belongs to him. Locke selects the vial of sand or tiny rocks, the compass, and the knife. When Richard sees that Locke has picked the knife, he gets scared and leaves. What if Richard knew what picking the knife meant? That Locke would somehow, some way, end up aligning himself with the man in black, and through a series of events lead to Jacob getting stabbed. I don't know exactly what Richard was thinking, but remember, that young John Locke had drawn a picture of a swirling black mass attacking a person. Message board! Hello? Oh, hey, what's up? Oh, no, I'm almost done, Yeah. Yeah, I'll see you then, okay? Alright, bye. Chatter! There is a theory jumping around the boards that Aaron's father, a guy named Thomas that we only really met for one episode, is actually the son of Charles Widmore. Think about it. How much more important would Aaron be to the island unless he was half shepherd and half Widmore? The main piece of evidence behind this theory is that some of Thomas's paintings from season 1 ended up in Charles Widmore's office and house. If this were true, then Aaron could be a possible connection between both sides of this war, and then possibly a uniting factor. Aaron could be the overall future leader and savior of the island. The one thing that keeps popping up on the message boards is about the year difference in the Black Rock's last voyage. The obvious answer is to fix the problem of dynamite being invented that I spoke of earlier. But wouldn't the producers know that there was dynamite on the Black Rock from season 1 and thus had to be 1867 or later? So then why have the auctioneer say that the Black Rock last set sail in 1845? Some people theorize that the year difference was caused by time travel, but saying it was time travel kind of feels like a cop-out. But then again, time travel might explain how the diary/ledger of the first mate got off the island and into the hands of Tovard Hanzo. Next week's episode is entitled The Package. This episode might explain how and why Jin ended up in a freezer. Remember to post your video response doing those 3 things I asked you in the cold opening. And please, keep it appropriate. I have sensitive ears and a sensitive heart.